a messy closet where you can't find anything? There just never seems to be enough space for all your stuff. And a prime minister to hide. Hold on, you need the Miracle Closet Panic Organizer. Well, fall is here. The temperature's dropping. Soon it'll be falling fast. And what better way to know what kind of morning you're dealing with than the Justin Trudeau plummeting numbers decorative window thermometer. Hello, friends. Do you get angry? I used to get really upset. And then I came to the Tom Mulcair School of Anger Management. At the Mulcair School, we don't get rid of your anger issues, no. We focus them for maximum effect.
And Rick Mercer joins me now in the studio. Rick, 13 years, did you say I was at the launch? 23 years at the CBC?
23 years, obviously not with the Mercer Report. I was one of the creators of This Hour's 22 Minutes, yes. Then did Made in Canada, Talking to Americans, then came here to this lovely building to do the Mercer Report, and it's now 12 years later.
So you basically, let me just get this straight, so 23 seasons, so you probably often interview young adults today that weren't born when you started at the CBC.
I get that. I remember staying up late to watch you, and I think, well, that's not possible. I'm on at 8 o'clock. That's not late, and then it dawns on me. But it's been a great run, and I've had a good time. I'm very fortunate. You know, I'm one of those people, and there's not a lot of them, that has the job they want to have. It's the dream job, so I'm not complaining. I love every minute of it.
Now we just showed some clips there of the three political leaders.
Yeah.
What are you thinking of the fact that it looks like it really could be a genuine three-way race? And does that provide you with the kind of... Are you excited about having your show on the air during a campaign?
Of course. I mean, people in news and people doing what I do, we were spoiled for a while because there were minority governments. We were getting an election every 18 months. And if you like politics as a spectator sport, and part of me does, then obviously an election is like the playoffs. But you said, you know, we're going to be in an election. We're in an election now. Yeah. I mean, it's already started. No one's governing. People are just campaigning, and now there's the ads are rolling out. It's going to be interesting. And of course, during an election is when leaders have to step out of their comfort zones and do things like actually talk to real people, or do silly things like get on all-terrain vehicles, or try to work farming equipment.
Kiss babies.
Off goes the arm. Yeah. Anything could happen. So we'll be there.
Let me ask you, okay, so there was the press gallery dinner on Parliament Hill a few weeks ago. You were sitting next to Green Party leader Elizabeth May.
I was sitting across from Green Party. Tony Clement was sitting next to her.
All right.
Whether he put something in her drink, I can't say. But he was next to her. And it was an interesting night. Justin Trudeau's lucky, and because if it wasn't for Elizabeth May, people would have been talking about how Justin wasn't funny. Oh. But, of course, that was the story, and then she just blew that out of the way.
Well, is there something to be learned here? I remember Rosie Barton came on the air and said, you know, sometimes we should just leave the comedy to the comedians, that you guys are funny.
This is a very stressful thing for the politicians, because they're supposed to be funny, they're supposed to be self-deprecating, and some people aren't funny, and that's fine. You don't have to be funny, obviously, to be the leader of a country. I mean, it's not a requirement, but they get stressed out. And you know who pulled it off? Tom Mulcair, who is notoriously not funny. He got up there with Mark Critch from 22 Minutes, and because Critch was there, Tom Mulcair was funny, and then suddenly everyone else was like, oh my God, Tom Mulcair was funny? And then they were really stressed. I could see that it affected Trudeau, and it clearly affected Ms. May.
What's getting your goat these days? I know you're not on the air right now, so you can't regale us with a rant, but is there anything that's bothering you?
Come by the house. I'm constantly ranting. I'm constantly ranting. You know what's getting my goat? Joe Oliver's sitting in the House of Commons, and people are asking questions to the finance minister, and Pierre Poilievre stands up, or a parliamentary secretary stands up. Since when in this country, when the minister is in the House, does he not or she not have to answer questions? Things like that. That drives me nuts. And it's like, it's just the type of thing that it's been going on for a while now, and now we're letting it slide. But our entire democratic system is built on the fact that, of course, ministers should answer questions and be accountable, and they no longer are. It's infuriating.
So what do you think about the state of our democratic system these days?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
No, not a lot. And it's interesting heading into the election about the debates. Mm-hmm. I find that amazing. I'm all for more debates.
Debate over the debates?
Well, I think I'm all for more debates. I think that's great. But the idea that the Prime Minister won't take part in the televised debate is madness to me. I mean, this is the way it works. During an election, people don't pay attention like you or I may, or people who are political junkies. But everyone knows when the election starts, a couple of weeks out, they're all going to trot into a TV studio and have a debate. That's the way it works in Canada, the United States, the UK. It always has. The fact that we have a Prime Minister saying, oh, I won't be doing that,
is pretty astounding.
There were 14 million, I think that's right, 14 million Canadians in French and English that watched those debates from the last election. That's a few Canadians.
I thought it was curious that he said, why can't a university host a debate? And I thought, I can't remember the last time the Prime Minister went to a university. I think the last time he went to one was when he probably attended one. Suddenly he wants to go to a debate at a university.
Do you feel, on a mildly serious note, so with your show on and people paying attention to people like you, perhaps more, especially younger people, than people like me, do you feel more pressure?
No, and I actually don't believe that more people pay attention to satire or comedy shows than the news. I think when people are asked, do you get your news from comedy shows, people say yes, because it's a clever thing and a saucy thing to say, but I don't think it's true. I think what I do is very much like what an editorial cartoonist does. And there's no such thing as someone who picks up the paper, only looks at the editorial cartoon. If you don't look at the front page, you don't get the cartoon, and I feel like that's the role that I play.
All right, let's talk about the new season, the 13th season.
No idea what I'm doing.
You have no idea?
No,
Jan Arden, tell me Jan Arden's joining.
Of course Jan will be on, because if I'm in Calgary and I don't call her up, she gets mad at me. And then when I call her up, she gets mad at me. Of course Jan will be on. But the scary thing about my show is not the jumping out of the airplanes or the going into demolition derby or being punched by Jan. It's the not knowing what we're doing from week to week. But I used to worry.
You genuinely don't know? They just sort of throw you at things?
Often don't, because it's the winter and it's scheduling and there's weather and there's just a lot of things going on. And we often don't know. So it's the tyranny of the blank page, of not knowing. That's what makes me nervous. But I used to worry once upon a time that we would run out of ideas. But I'm not worried about that anymore. It's a big country, lots of great people.
Lots of great people. Did you know that hashtag #LoveCBC was trending today? Isn't that nice?
In this building? Or
in the country.
On the interweb?
In the country, on the interweb.
People love the CBC. I love the CBC.
Me too. All right. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Rick Mercer with me here in studio. And a reminder, the Rick Mercer Report returns for Lucky 13th season on October 6th. You can watch every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on CBC Television. That is 8:30, as you all know, in Newfoundland.